Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very welcome to Lisbon, to 2023 European Powder Metallurgical Congress. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here. So my name is Antonio Homem. I'm coming from DURIT, where I'm commercial director. And on behalf of DURIT, we would like to thank to EPMA this invitation to open the Congress. It's a great honor. Thank you. With me should be Professor Teresa Vieira, but unfortunately she had a last-minute familiar issue and she cannot join us. I will pass very rapidly her slides, the slides that she prepared, with a minor text that I will try to read. But okay, so the next slides are from her responsibility, and I will pass them. So the idea was to give an idea about the status of the powder metallurgical on the academic way, how it started in Portugal and how it has evolved. So the first project started in 1984 with commercial powders and were some vacuum sintering tests on high-speed steel tools that were made at INETI and the Technical University. Later on, there was another important study also with heavy alloys, with a system tungsten, nickel, and iron. And the study aimed to get specific properties. So these two main studies, according to her, were the studies that allow experience to later go on to another projects. So here you can see some examples of an indirect process, indirect technology, material extrusion in tungsten carbide, cobalt, and cermet compositions. This research is influencing both the functional and structural areas of the parts, allowing a better quality of the finishing and of the interior shape of the 3D part. Okay, here we can see some examples obtained by selective laser melting, where it was possible to produce complex geometries on the mold inserts, complex geometries, cooling channels on the inside of the mold inserts. This technology is evolving, but this allows a significant improvement in the efficiency of the cooling process. Around 30% efficiency increase is achieved. This is another example where we can also see the cooling channels. Here is also another example of selective laser melting, but the main feature here is that the composition is varying during the printing. So it's possible to have a softer steel on the inside and a harder steel on the outside. Here you can see a part, a mold insert, with H13 steel on the inside and M42 steel on the outside. Okay, so this finished the slides from Professor Teresa, and now I will pass to the part that I was requested to do, also the status of the powder metallurgical industry in Portugal. So Portugal has a very dynamic powder metallurgical industry. It's not so big, but it's very dynamic. We can get examples from most of the techniques in use, the best practice and world-class manufacturing, like in additive manufacturing, in Marinha Grande, an area where a lot of molds, the main area for molds, there are some companies producing very complex and very advanced mold inserts in SLS and with laser. Also using laser, there is also the cladding part, the surface coatings, including one company from DURIT Group, DURIT Coatings, that is doing this laser coating on the parts, also by lasering and also by projection. The technical ceramics are also present from many years, and it's also that is evolving and growing. Later on, the MIM process has been also introduced in some specific industries with great success. And finally, the last but not the least, the hard metals, the sintered tungsten carbide, which is the area where I came from and where I get experience since 20 years. So this is the area that now I'll explain a little bit more in detail, also because the hard metals is the most significant industry here in Portugal. So it all started with agriculture. It's a bit strange, but it was in the early 20th century, was a big plan to increase the productivity of cereals in Portugal, and that required a lot of fertilizers. And to get the fertilizers, there was one huge mine, Lousal mine, in the south of Portugal that belonged to SAPEC. And to work in that mine, it was required a lot of tools to mine the mining tool. So in the beginning, the tools were imported, but quite rapidly, the SAPEC group decided to make them internally and to nationalize this industry. And so they, with the help of English supporters, they started in Palhal, the company that was from SAPEC Group, Metallurgy, a company that most of you know, and it still exists, and with good success. More recently, a group of two entrepreneurs, Mr. Manuel Valente and Mr. Flauzino Silva, that had a great experience also in tungsten carbide, decided to start their own adventure, and in 1981, they founded DURIT. Here you can see the first sketches that were made. So in 1981, they decided this, they projected, they built, with the help of the first employees, they were building the factory on their own. And by 1982, so less than 1 year later, they had the first sintering occurring in a factory. It was the first big milestone for the beginning of this company. It's now, you can see here a photo of the latest production site. It's the 4th pavilion site in work, inaugurated in 2022. So this is a very technological company, working mostly for exporting. More than 90% of their production goes to Central Europe, to South America, and all over the world. I was for it with 350 collaborators here in this production site in Portugal. So, these both companies are located in Aveiro, in Albergaria Velha, a city near Aveiro, in the center of Portugal. One more focused on cutting tools, and the other one, DURIT, more focused on anti-wear components. So I dare to say that we have a cluster of tungsten carbide tools in this region where we can supply worldwide to the most demanding applications. You can see some examples of the market segments that are served directly from us. From the very demanding petrochemical oil and gas industry with very stringent specifications, to the pharmaceutical, medical, to automotive with specifications also very tight and delivery times that are very demanding, and to aeronautical that is also quite difficult and quite challenging. So it's all supported by a strong research and development department that can support this, that are able to develop very specific grades for each application, anti-corrosion grades, all sorts of different things that can suit to the most customers, to the need of most customers. So in resume, back into the general of powder metallurgical industry. It's a very important industry, not only because of the value that it creates directly, but because of all that it moves around. That it exists more than 1,000 highly skilled collaborators. There is a very strong tradition of partnerships with universities and with technological industries. This pushes the institutes, and the institutes push the industry, so this is very important and creates a great dynamic. There is a continuous investment in research and development. Is an industry that is typical of having high values of investment, and it's responsible for a big amount of exports, which is also quite important for a small country and a peripheral country like Portugal. Okay, so I think enough of the industry. I was also asked to tell you a bit about what you can do in Portugal. So I will try to help this. First of all, why not visit a powder metallurgical factory? So please feel free. If anybody wishes, just contact us and we'll be glad to open the factory and to show the factory to you. It is a 2-hour trip by train from Lisbon or 1-hour trip from the Porto airport. So please feel free. It's just a suggestion. Next, okay, about Lisbon. I guess most of you already did the bibliographic research quite well about Lisbon. I will not say anything in particular. I draw your senses to 2 areas. One is the light, the special light of Lisbon. And in these days, we are lucky. We have fantastic weather. For some, maybe too hot, but very, very hot weather and plenty of light. And Lisbon is very famous for its light. Our poet, Fernando Pessoa, described it quite well, that there are no flowers for me like the variegated coloring of Lisbon on a sunny day. The other sense that I think is quite impressive in Lisbon is the sound. The sound of the Portuguese guitar is quite amazing for the ones who like. But for me, I find it quite impressive. It's a very difficult instrument to play with 12 strings, but gives a very characteristic sound that usually goes along with fado. But can also be played alone, and it's quite nice. If you have the chance, I would suggest that in Lisbon. About all the rest, I think you know. From Mosteiro dos Jerónimos, the Electric, 28, Tram 28, there are plenty to do in Lisbon. Outside of Lisbon, well, there are also many cities. I'm coming from Aveiro, so, okay, I put Aveiro here, of course, almost in first. Small city, warm people, and very varied scenarios. In the north, more green, more fresh, usually heavier food. In the south, more brown, more dry, more calm, more slow. So you choose. And finally, one of the best things to do in Portuguese tourists is the food. We are famous for having simple food, not very complicated. So we are good at getting the natural flavors from the food and to exacerbate these flavors. Codfish, in Portuguese is bacalhau, is done in a special way. It's dried and salted and then rehydrated again and gives a very characteristic taste. You should try. Then, cozida à portuguesa, sardines, everything with a good wine, also plenty of different wines. Despite Portugal being a very small country, it has a very wide range of areas and climates that gives very different foods and wines. And finally, pastel de nata and a coffee. And it's good. Okay, so thank you very much. I leave you with this last sentence, also from Fernando Pessoa. I hope you enjoy your stay in Lisbon. I hope this Congress, I'm sure this Congress will be a great success and many new things will come out and will work as a spark for new ideas, for new developments, for new strategies. So thank you very much for coming. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I wish you a very nice Congress. Thank you.